Hi, welcome to Pose Breakdown. This is Chaturanga Dandasana to Upward Facing Dog. So you may have heard Chaturanga, that word being thrown around in a yoga class and wondering what on earth it means. You might have seen a demonstration of Chaturanga, but maybe it's not in your practice at the moment. So if it is something that you're looking to add to your practice, it's an intermediate level pose, then this hopefully will give you some ideas of how to do it and how you can begin to add it in. So it's quite a lot of work on the shoulders Chaturanga. So I would suggest that you begin by adding in some hovers into your lowering down from plank first of all. So let's look at what Chaturanga is and how you can add it in. So at the moment, it may be that you're lowering down, either knees down or knees lifted all the way down to the ground. And then untucking your toes and coming into your cobra. So if that's where you are at the moment and you're feeling quite strong in lowering down from full plank, then this is a good time to start playing around with Chaturanga if you'd like. If you're still bringing your knees down, then maybe start working on lowering down with the knees lifted from full plank first. So I would say be really feeling confident and strong lowering down from full plank before you decide to start adding in extra elements with Chaturanga. So Chaturanga is, instead of lowering all the way down to the ground, it's lowering down halfway. So that's to about elbow height. So when I first started learning Chaturanga, I actually used to set up my phone and do a little video, take a couple of pictures. I know it can feel really awkward, but sometimes what our bodies think that they're doing isn't actually what they're doing. Sometimes it is. So taking a little video means that you can have a look at your alignment and you can see, am I actually coming down about halfway, and checking that you're still holding that nice long plank, and seeing what your body's doing. So when you're lowering down halfway, there's a lot more pressure on the joints. So you really want to make sure that your elbow's straight over your wrist. And the easiest way to do that is before you lower down is to come forward slightly on the toes. And then when you lower down to halfway, you'll find that it's easier to get that stacking. So you'll see what I did just then was I held that halfway, I held that Chaturanga for just a little second and then I lowered all the way down. So that's what I would suggest as a good way to start practicing off at the beginning. If you're used to lowering from full plank, coming forward on the toes, lowering down halfway, hovering there for, it can literally be a split second at the beginning and then you can build up to a little bit longer. And then still coming down all the way down to the ground and taking your cobra. So that will start to build strength in the shoulders and it will give you confidence in being in that position. So the same kind of ideas apply when you're in the halfway as they do when you're lowering all the way down. So elbows are still to the back of the mat and making sure that your shoulders width apart. So there can be this feeling of a slight drawing in. It gives you support as you come down. You don't want your arms too wide, and obviously if your elbows are sticking out to the side, that's going to be a bit harsh on your joints as well. So you want to have this nice stacking, elbow over wrist, and elbows bending towards the back of the mat. So starting by taking those hovers first of all in your practice. So coming down from high plank, coming down to halfway, so coming forward on the toes, and then all the way down, untucking into your cobra. So that's a really good way to start practicing this little transition. It's certainly how I did it and it feels really, really good. It'll help you to feel really confident about the next part. So all you need to know for that bit is shifting forward on the toes. That'll help you get your stacking, hovering in halfway, lowering down. So once that begins to feel comfortable in your body, and you're taking some nice hovers, maybe for a second or two, or a few seconds, and you're feeling really confident there, then you can look at adding on upward facing dog. So upward facing dog is also a heart opener and also a back bend in the same way that cobra is. The only difference is you're not coming down to the ground, you're taking it from that halfway point. So it does look a little bit different and it is a little bit of a bigger back bend as well. So I'll show you what it looks like first. So you're coming forwards on the toes, lowering halfway, pressing through the hands And you'll notice that my toes, or maybe you haven't noticed, but you can look now, that I've come onto the top of the feet. So I'm no longer in that position, I'm on the top of the feet. And the only parts of the body that are touching the ground here for me are the hands and the tops of my feet. And from here, coming into downward facing dog, I roll over the feet and come into downward dog. So there's quite a lot going on with these transitions, and that's why getting really confident with that hover and that chaturanga is really important before you add upward dog. Because in the transition from chaturanga to upward dog, you're straightening the arms to come into your chest opener, into your back bend, but you're also coming onto the tops of the feet. So it might be as you first start practicing, you come onto the top of one foot first, and then onto the top of the other foot. So you can take this really slow. It doesn't need to be a super speedy transition. So if you want to straighten the arms, untuck a toe, untuck the other toe, that's completely fine. So having a little play around and seeing what feels good for you. And then once you're in that upward dog, you're opening through the chest as you would with cobra, broadening and opening, just the hands and the tops of the feet on the ground. And then to get into downward facing dog, as you saw, I'm lifting the hips and I'm rolling over the toes. Again, you could choose to step one foot down and the other foot down, so it doesn't need to be a rollover if you don't want. Coming into downward facing dog. So going through once more, just to give you an idea of how this all looks together. Coming forward on the toes, lowering halfway, pressing through the hands, coming onto the tops of the feet, and then either rolling over the toes or stepping one and then the other, lifting the hips into downward facing dog. So I'd suggest having a little play around, you, your camera, just the two of you in the room. Then that way you don't have to feel embarrassed, you can practice. And it's a natural part of yoga, giving these things a go, and then feeling difficult and maybe struggling a bit at the beginning. So please don't feel disheartened if it's feeling really exhausting at the start. This is an intermediate level pose, and it requires a lot of upper body strength, and there's also a lot of different movements going on. So have a little go and see what feels right for you, for your body. And do drop me any comments if you've got any questions or you'd like any more tips about this pose. Otherwise, hope you enjoy practicing and look forward to seeing you in class soon.